Hello, everybody. Welcome to another review from Is This a Mag Escape on YouTube. It's 11:17 p.m. I just finished watching the historical war biographical film titled Devotion, starring Jonathan Majors and Glenn Powell, directed by J.D. Dillard. Let's go ahead and discuss what I thought about the film. Upon watching the trailer, there was a bit of hesitation on my part because any film that is very steeped into the emotion department, specifically considering what has happened in the last year of my life, I always want to make sure that any type of film of this magnitude is has me prepared to keep my emotions in check. So I needless once again there was a bit of hesitation on my part. I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to react to what was transpiring on the screen. Even though I love anything that's related to the historical concepts of what has shaped and molded our country into a significant fashion, whether it's World War One, World War Two, Nazi Germany, Auschwitz, the Holocaust, the Korean War, Pearl Harbor, Civil War, the Revolutionary War, anything that is significantly important on the historical forefront is, I do believe, is something that we all need to be heavily invested in because without history, we are simply doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past. And hence why it's very important to shine a light on the importance of the historical nature that this country is founded upon. So when I saw the preview for this film, I knew there was something I needed to watch. Having said that, the cast of this film, seeing Jonathan Majors and Glenn Powell, and most people are well aware of, Jonathan Majors is an up and coming force in cinema, for that matter. I He's in Lovecraft. Well, he was in Lovecraft Country. He's going to be in Creed 3, and of course, he's going to be in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, along with Avengers Kane Dynasty. You had Glenn Powell, who recently came out of Top Gun Maverick. This film is simply talking about the brotherhood of these naval aviation pilots that are going into the Korean War and having to trust one another in a manner that is very emotional, strong, powerful, and very realistic and authentic with the way that organic chemistry is exemplified between Jonathan Majors and Glenn Powell. And so, as I sat there watching it, I became immediately impressed with how Jonathan Majors acted. I've heard great reviews about his acting. I simply did not know that the man could act like this. It was immensely powerful. I loved how raw he was with his performance, and the fact that he was playing this one of the first African American aviation pilots in the Navy. I loved how he carried himself in a dignified manner. He was very intelligent, devoted family man. Simply look at the all he wanted to do was fly, and he flew to the best of his abilities. Was one of the greatest pilots in history. And of course, anyone who is familiar with the story, I'm not going to go into details simply because I do want everyone to be able to read the story on their own time. uh, Jonathan Majors portrays pilot Jesse Brown, and then you have Glenn Powell, who is portraying Lieutenant Thomas Hubner, and they both form this bond that, and especially during a time where it was still more or less taboo for any Caucasian or African Americans to have any semblance of a friendship. What I loved as well, given the historical aspect of this film, is how it basically began to show the improvements upon race relations venturing into the 50s. And let it be known, anyone who knows me knows how much I love period pieces. Interestingly enough, when you think about the 50s and the 60s, compared to say the 30s and the 40s, where race relations uh, were at such a tense and fiery level, you never. It's very beautiful to see how it transitioned over into more an improved notion. Even though there was tension there, the fact that you had these other pilots who were forced, not necessarily forced, but they were relying on each other, embrace someone who wasn't the same color as them as their own brother, brought about the significant emotion that I do believe portrayed that specific part of the story quite beautifully, in my opinion. It's not so much about the aviation sequences or the visuals, even though those do play a part in the film. It's simply focusing on the acting. Jonathan Majors and Glenn Powell has such an authentic and organic chemistry that they play so well off each other, and I loved watching them combat in a way that really gave you the sense that you were buying their relationship and that they were simply believing in their mission into either want to be the best or want to establish the freedoms that the country was founded upon. And if it meant dying in the process. That's what it was all about. They both just clash beautifully in my mind. I loved everything about the performance, and there's a scene in the film in my that I do believe people are going to be very impressed by. It reminded me of Michael Jordan's Last Dance segment that pretty much the majority of people are very interested that are familiar with. It really resonated with me as to how Jonathan Majors, how the camera was focused on him. You are watching this man act out this specific scene. It's not anything that gives you this sense of it's a green screen or anything like that. He is honed in, and it's almost as if that he's looking directly at you and having you feel the performance that he is displaying. And man, it hit home. He did such a brilliant job of this. I can see why a lot of people are calling him. I know there's a lot of people have labeled him as the new Denzel, and even though that is a very high compliment, I have to say, man, I can see it happening. He is such a phenomenal actor, and I cannot wait to see him in Creed 3 and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Glenn Powell does an amazing job as well. When I look at him, I saw Captain America, and if anything, instead of Chris Evans, I see Glenn Powell as Captain America now. It just seemed like he would be the perfect fit for it. Looks exactly like him, has the body type, just everything about him simply gave you this sense of a patriotic American that wants to do the right thing. From a visual perspective, it's very beautiful. It's a very beautiful type of atmosphere that gives you a broader sense of what it was like in that time period to be in the skies with these aviation pilots that are engaged in combat. My favorite part of the film, and you will know what I'm talking about when I mention it, there's a beautiful one-shot sequence that I don't want to go into specific details about it. However, it is one of the most intense and innovative moments in the film that I was enthralled by. I loved how it's not so much focusing on the quick edits and the cuts in order to give you a broader sense of there's so much insanity going on. It is about focusing on that moment, and when you watch it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It is quite astounding to see. I love how we're more or less entering into the cinematic format of a traditional sense of visuals where it doesn't look like a green screen. Maybe it is a green screen, but it's so realistic and raw and authentic that you simply cannot fathom it being a green screen. And it's very gritty and dark and emotional, powerful, very powerful material. Along with the music, the orchestral score that's associated with those scenes is, man, it's quite perfect. I love everything about this film. It's absolutely amazing. I do recommend it. There is a lot of strong historical significance that is quite parallel to what's happening with our country as of late. I can't stress enough how I was impressed with the film. I do recommend it. I give it a 2 thumbs up, a 10 out of 10. I know a lot of people are probably wondering, well, do you have any negative reviews? Not necessarily, especially 2022 has proven to be the year of quality films that has just been released in succession. Having said that, Devotion, I hope that it receives some form of Academy Award nominations, especially for Jonathan Majors' acting performance and the visualizations. Perfect film from beginning to end. I was not bored whatsoever. Go watch it. I don't believe you'll be disappointed. And that is my review of Devotion. I hope you all enjoyed it. Take care and peace out.